You should all give yourself a pat on the back and a round of applause for, because you're the people of Coleraine, not those chumps over there.
Bear with me, guys. Sorry, can I just go through there, guys? Thank you.
They don't represent the people of Coleraine. You are the real people of this city. So I want to talk about what we're facing here. What we're facing here in Northern Ireland is what the people of England have faced, what the people of Scotland are now starting to face, even the people of Wales and the people of the Republic of Ireland. And what we've got to do is come together as the people of these islands and stand as one against the invasion of these islands. You see, none of this is happening by accident. This is a deliberate policy, and we're fighting. This is a spiritual battle. Don't ever think this is about race or colour. It's not about that at all. This is a spiritual battle. There's a great evil that has come upon these islands in the last 50 years. I call it the Great Army of Darkness. And I'll tell you who's in that army of darkness. The Islamists. The communists. Give them a big boo. Every time I say one of these, give them a boo. The Islamists. The communists. Yeah. And the globalists. And that's who we're fighting against. The Islamists, the communists, and the globalists. A few years ago, I had the privilege with Tommy Robinson of meeting a lot of... Give Tommy a big cheer. I had the privilege of meeting... Let's turn the music up, isn't that nice? You turn it up as loud as you want. I'm louder than your music will ever be. I had the privilege of making 4 films with Tommy Robinson about what was happening with the grooming gangs in England. And those tramps over there, they would stand with the groomers before they would stand with the victims of the grooming gangs. They're an absolute disgrace. But I had the privilege of meeting those young women and those young ladies that have been abused by Pakistani, and we're going to be honest about this, we're not going to be politically correct, Pakistani Muslim men raped a generation of English girls. The people of Northern Ireland must not allow that to happen here. And I had the great privilege last year. I don't know if there's anyone here from Ballymena. I had the great privilege last year of standing with the brave people of Ballymena. They took a stand. One of the daughters of Ballymena was raped, and they took a stand against the criminal gang that carried out that rape, and they were vilified and demonised for it. I stand with the people of Ballymena. I stood with them then, I stood with them now, and so should everybody here. You see, this great army of darkness, they have a mission. They think they can drown us out with their silly little music system, but they're never going to drown out the people of this town, the people of this city, and the people of Ulster. We're all standing together, and we're together against the great army of darkness, and we will prevail, and we will win. And what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen, they have a mission. They have a mission, and their mission is to destroy Christian civilization. Are we going to let them? No. Are we going to let them? No. We're not going to let them, as Ian Paisley said, never, never, never. We're not going to let them defeat Christianity in this country. They've been trying it for 50 years. We're still here, and we're staying, and we're not going anywhere. But I want to tell you something. We've got our own part to play. We've got our own part to play in this. They are making progress. They are having success. They have taken over the institutions in England. They've taken over the educational institutions in England. They've taken over the civil service. They're taking over the government. They're doing the same in Northern Ireland. I want to tell you something. I genuinely believe there are people in political parties in this country that are evil and satanic. I believe the people that encourage abortion on demand in this country are evil and satanic. We've not done anywhere near enough standing against that. People talk about genocide. Do you know how many babies have been murdered in the United Kingdom since 1967? 11 million babies aborted since 1967. You wonder why there's demographic change? Those 11 million children would have been standing with us now, but they're dead because of the Abortion Act. Then when we think about what's happening in the education system, we think about the way children have been educated to hate their own country. I love this country. You all love this country. Start teaching your children to love this country as well. Yeah! So what do we do? What's the solution to the problems that we face? Well, I'm going to say something that a lot of people might not like to hear. They might not want to hear. But I'll tell you what's happened. Many, many people in Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland used to be the heartland. It was the Bible Belt of Christianity in Europe. And we're losing that. I want to tell you something. Every single one of us, and I know what it's like to backslide and go away from God, but every single one of us here needs to come back to Christ. Come back to God. We need Jesus Christ to be King of this country. Not that reprobate that's sitting in Buckingham Palace at the minute. Christ is King. 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 So come back to Christ. Get back to church. And what will happen is when you come back to Christ and come back to church, all the problems in your life will start to melt away. They'll start to melt away. All the problems that you've had in family, in communities. I tell you what, if you're a Christian and you're following God and you're filled with the Holy Spirit, you're not going to want to take drugs anymore. You're not going to want to be on the drink every night anymore. God will change you and God will change your life. So that's what we need in this country. We don't need a political revolution. First of all, we need a spiritual revolution, and we need this country turning back to Jesus Christ. Be careful, be careful. The police will think it's a contact. Be very careful with that. Contact with that. But that's what we need. And when we get the spiritual revolution right, then we'll get the political revolution. There's a great political party I'm a part of called Advance UK. But I tell you what, the most important thing that anyone can do in this crowd today, this Easter Saturday, is return to Christ. Thank you very much.